Yes, thank you all. Hello and welcome to this coaching call. Please open up the chat and confirm whether you can see me and hear me just so we can get started. Hello to everybody. I have Bob, David, Anthony, Nestor, James, Shane joining me. Yes, you can hear me. That's excellent. So first of all, thank you for the confirmation. Secondly, yes, I'm live speaking to you right now, and you can actually communicate with me by opening up the questions box on your phone, on your laptop, and going ahead and first of all introducing yourself, telling me where are you coming from. Is it morning, evening, afternoon, and of course why did you join the list building lifestyle? This is a live coaching experience, and this is your opportunity to just show up and first of all know that you're not alone, know that you are surrounded by a community of people who are going through the same exact journey, who share the same exact goal, and who are here to find out what are those steps that will help them get there. So what I'm going to do right now before we dive in, while everybody's getting ready, everybody's looking for that questions box, everybody's taking the time to introduce themselves. I have Anthony from North Carolina, Stefan from Minneapolis, Ron from Dallas, Robin from Sun Valley in Nevada. Oh, so many others, so many others. Bo from Denver, Sandra from Colorado. Very exciting. So definitely go ahead and keep on sending those comments just so I can read out your name and prove that this is live. And of course, just a reminder for everybody who is feeling shy today, who is thinking, no, I'm not here to type, I'm not here to, go ahead and ask questions, I'm just here to listen, then you would be happy to know that we have a competition on every single one of those calls where we choose the most engaged commenter and we give out a free list building lifestyle prize. So if you're after one of those cool list building lifestyle hashtag t-shirts, coffee mugs, blankets, hats, pillows, anything really. We even have our own coffee and facial masks, which is very relevant these days. Then definitely go ahead and open up the chat. Who knows, maybe you'll be that prize winner. And in the meantime, while everybody's going ahead and getting ready, getting their coffees, opening the chat, I do want to go ahead and congratulate a couple of members who are doing especially well this week, as well as remind everybody how is it that you can make the most out of your list building lifestyle experience with us. So first and foremost, I want to start with congratulating members. I want to congratulate, first of all, Sandra, who I just spoke to a couple of hours ago, who is a nice lady who just started her online business. Oh, hello. Hello, Mr. Person. You look
Hey,
tan
it
and all
works.
nice.
I just wanted you to know that it works. I fixed it today.
Okay, you're not a Lego person anymore, so that's good.
Yes,
Everybody who
yes.
didn't see Igor in the last call was wondering, is it Igor or is it like, a voice actor or something? We have the real deal. And do you want to dive in right away or
No,
can I
no, no, no. I
continue
just
with
wanted to
the
know that it works, and you keep doing your thing, and I need to set up my lights because I'm in a new spot, so I'll be right
you
back.
do your thing? We'll continue in the meantime. And I was congratulating Sandra, who is an 80-year-old lady who found herself even though she was a public speaker, she found herself after the pandemic just started asking, what is it that I can do next? Because there are no public speaking, gatherings anymore. And she decided to dive into affiliate marketing. She already has 500 subscribers and already can talk about receiving that first sale. So first of all, Sandra, congratulations. And of course, Sandra is not the only one. We have people who are building their list and reporting progress every single week. We are here to keep all of you accountable. We have Tiago H with 993 new subscribers, David C with 1,789 new subscribers, who is breaking the record this week. So, David, congratulations. We have Bob H with 529 new subscribers, Peter N with 501 new subscribers, and Tommy J with 184 new subscribers, which is extremely excited. Congratulations to everybody all around. And of course, we are here to keep you accountable. So if you are experiencing that success and you want to be mentioned as well, then definitely go ahead and email us at support@listbuildinglifestyle.com and let us know what you're seeing. You can report any progress whatsoever. You build a page, that's progress, even though you don't have to. There are templates. But in any case, moving on, I'm just reminding people who are getting started and are excited about building their list but are very new to traffic, have no idea where is it that I go, how does it work, do I need to have previous experience, what kind of budget do I need to start with. If you are the person who is asking all of these questions and you just need some hand holding, you need a person who will take things slow with you, then we actually have you covered. We, as a member of the List Building Lifestyle, you get access to a private Rolodex of silhouette sellers who were personally trained and certified by Igor himself. They will not only help you to the best traffic source there is, but they will also make sure that it fits your budget, that they answer all of your questions, and that all of it is done for you, right? So you don't need to engage yourself with any technical details. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that link in the chat right now. So if you are interested in that Rolodex and you want to check it out after the call, all you have to do is to go to igor.cx/Rolodex. I repeat, that is igor.cx/Rolodex, and that link will now be in the chat. If you are watching this in the recording, it's at the bottom right corner in the toolbox. And moving on, what else is new in the List Building Lifestyle? We're now hosting mastermind calls. What are mastermind calls? Mastermind calls are live interviews, which are your opportunity to talk to Igor one-on-one. Just enable your microphone camera if you wish, and just say, hello, Igor, that's my business plan. What do you think about it? Or ask him some questions and just have a one-on-one with Igor, which is a complimentary perk, believe it or not, that you receive with the List Building Lifestyle. And if you want to have one of those one-on-one with Igor, which are then recorded and released to the community, if again you're interested in that, it's not mandatory, then all you have to do is just comment the word mastermind in the chat right now. If you want to have a conversation with Igor live, you can just comment the word mastermind, and then the comments are already coming in, and then we will send you a personal invitation. Again, it's free, it's complimentary, so that's up to you. And last but not least, we just had a discussion with Sandra this morning, and Sandra is a member who, like I said, she's 80 years old. She's doing this career change because of the pandemic, and she found herself diving into this online business venture, but she was very confused about all the details at first. It took her some time to puzzle all this bigger picture together and understand how all the details work together. And of course, it's not really ideal for her and in her personal situation to learn all of those details from scratch. So what she did is she actually had Igor build her funnel and write her emails for her, which really expedited that process when it came to her building her list and seeing those first sales. And if you want to be one of those people who is having Igor, kind of shortcut your journey and doing some of that work for you, all you have to do is apply at igorsfunnel.com, and you will get all the details. So that is igorsfunnel.com. There's an on-demand training in there that is free. Again, it's complimentary. You can watch that and see if it's a good fit for you. I'm dropping that link in the chat. So that is igorsfunnel.com if you want Igor to build your own funnel for you. And with that said, what I'm going to do right now, we're almost ready to get started, is I'm going to open up this call by proclaiming the List Building Lifestyle Pledge and reminding everybody of Igor's most important principles when it comes to his and other members' successes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to ask for your help in the chat so you can let me know if you see it. So my camera is going to be off now, and my screen is going to be shared now. How are we looking, ladies and gentlemen, of course? Let me know in the chat. Yes, you can see it. Thank you, Ken. John is very excited. Paul, Jeff, Rita, Larry, awesome. Thank you everybody all around. Christine, of course. Let's go ahead and maximize that. Okay, so go ahead and repeat after me. As a list builder, I know the money is in the list. I'm committed to emailing my list every day with infotaining emails and irresistible offers. I will refrain from engaging in all types of vanilla behavior, such as giving free value to my list or being boring. I vow to leave my ego at the door, along with my shiny object syndrome, because list building isn't a scheme, but a way of being. I will play full out and play to win. I will brazenly scorn at freebie seekers and over-deliver for my paid customers. I will forever value principles over tactics, because I am a list builder. Right on. The screen is off and the camera should be back on just now. So now we are ready for that bit when I introduce Igor and he's coming on air. So it's not a surprise to you guys that he's coming, but yes, Igor is joining us live with me as well. And in fact, we do have a live guest speaker who Igor will fill you in on as well. So like I said, this is your opportunity to just show up and have all of that knowledge put into you. So go ahead and get excited, get ready, get your notes ready if you love taking notes. Igor, take it away. Tell us what we have in store today.
Yes. So first off, I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who's been patient about anything that, any service that we have where I'm personally involved in getting it delivered. For example, some of you are, some of you have been waiting for me to shoot some sort of a training or maybe set up your ads in some way, shape, or form. And it was delayed throughout the last 7 to 10 days because I was moving. I'm still unpacking. There's still a lot to do, but overall we've been able to get through this, and now I'm back on track and quickly recovering ground. I also owe an apology for the previous mastermind call members, so the ones that Lana mentioned before, because due to my own mistakes and a really intense personal life schedule where we had to get a lot done in the span of just 1 week, I totally forgot.
Since
Yeah,
you're
so
human, then we forgive
yeah,
you, but only
no,
this one time.
but I did forget. So just an apology to those who waited for me and I didn't show up. I'm gonna make it up for I'm gonna make it up for you for that. And of course, today's call is going to be all about email copywriting. Specifically, it's going to be about email storytelling, because the guy I'm going to be introducing in a minute, first off, never heard of him before. Like literally found out about him 10 days ago. I was on the internet browsing. I was looking up some copywriting related stuff, and he came up, and all of a sudden, I read one paragraph, and I was like, I knew I was
No.
reading an article by somebody who knows what they're talking about, which in the copywriting world, you don't get a lot because everyone just says the same thing all the time. And then I got on his list, and very quickly, again, I just find myself reading every one of his emails. That's my daughter behind me. Don't worry. It's just, yeah.
Hello. Bon
So he's
appetit,
got,
little one.
go ahead. Sure. Yeah. So
Bon
it's Lana and
appetit.
a bunch of other people. So yeah, say hi to everyone.
Hello.
Enjoy your meal.
Thank you.
Okay. So I found myself reading every email that came in, not because of just how it was written, but also what it was written about. And so I realized this person has a deep understanding of how to influence people in writing, but at the same time, everything he writes seems very simple, and it's something I think we should all model. So that is why I reached out to him and I said, hey, would you be willing to come in and teach my tribe, my people who already have lists, who are building lists, who are already familiar with email marketing? They know that email marketing has a 40 to $1 ROI. It's the best thing you can do online, period. You can build a list and email that list. He agreed, and now he's here. So I'm pretty sure you've never heard of him before. And because I know every copywriter in the game, and this guy just escaped my radar, but he sold a lot. In fact, even though he's only been a full-time copywriter for 6 years, which in the copywriting game is not a lot, he already managed to sell over $10 million worth of, get this, worth of dog seat belts to cold traffic. And he's just consistently working on daily basis with seven-figure business of
Under the
selling.
radar, because that's
Yeah,
amazing progress, and he manages to do it without being discovered. Well, not anymore. We'll
yeah.
change that
So
today.
for a change, it's a copywriter that isn't making his living by teaching other people how to write copy. So I found it to be refreshing. So anyway, Alana, if you will, please bring out our guest, John Bejakovic. I hope I pronounced it right. He's originally from Croatia, and he's an ex-IT guy who decided to take on the career of copywriting. So, John, sound check.
Hey Igor, can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
we can.
loud and clear.
Great. And I don't know if you can see me, but it's not important. I can share my screen in just a bit.
No,
But
we can't see you yet. Now we
there we
can.
go.
Oh,
Yes,
there
now we
we
can.
go. You're a
All
true
right. Hello.
copywriter because you're introverted. That's, you're just so good at writing copy that you stay behind the scenes. So we're sorry to, drag you into the spotlight, but we're really excited about what you have for us today.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for agreeing to do this. And basically, guys, what I asked John to do is rather than give you some dry theory and put you in front of a keynote slide show and have him read off screen what's written in front of you, like some people like to do on these sort of webinars. I asked him if he could actually show us the work he done, emails he wrote, stories he wrote that resulted in sales that the ones that are being used or have been used recently in successful promotions, selling actual stuff. And he agreed. So I'm pumped. John, would you like to maybe say a few words before we begin, or would you prefer to just dive in?
Sure. So let me just give the background of the emails that I'm going to show you and kind of what I'm going to do today.
Sure.
So the emails I'm going to show you, it's basically stuff that came out over the past year. I was working with these e-commerce guys. They were driving a lot of sales, front-end sales. I convinced them to start emailing on the back end. And these were daily emails. I think each email took maybe 20 minutes to write. I'll show you exactly how to do it in the minimal amount of time, even if you're not a copywriter, because I think that's kind of the point that I want to get across, is that you really don't need to stress too much about writing. So there are a few important parts of the emails that I'll show you. And the results were really good. So we had a big list, we had a lot of offers, but even so, I think the biggest month that we had was, in terms of profits, was $70,000 just by sending 2 emails a day. A typical day was maybe around $2,000, just again, 2 emails a day, that each email took maybe 15, 20 minutes to write. And
Yeah, before you continue, you said twice a day.
no, sorry. So we were sending an email to 2 separate lists. So this was one email going out to 2 different lists. So I had to write 2 emails because they were related. I'll show you a couple of samples. So one was in the, like you said, in the dog space. So we were selling lots of dog products. The other one was kind of home lists, but I'll show you some examples.
That's awesome. So it's daily. You convinced them to do daily emails.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah, and again, the emails were kind of very much story based. The value of the email was actually kind of in the story. So there wasn't any kind of, any teaching or tips being given away. It was just a fun, light, entertaining story or some drama, and then tying it to the product. And yet the only reason I bring that up is because people stayed on the list, the engagement stayed high, especially for one of these lists that I'll show you. We got a lot of positive feedback. So people were saying, oh my God, I love these emails, and yet people were buying. So this was really kind of this balance between.
Oh, usually it's not the case. Like if people tell you they love your copy, usually they don't buy, right?
Yeah. So that's definitely a trade-off, especially if you're kind of giving away a lot of value, teaching people. People tend to be grateful for that, but they don't buy. But again, I'll show you how simple it can be to write engaging emails, even if you're not a copywriter, because I think I sometimes went all in and I got creative and I was writing, but that's because this is what I do and I like to do it. But for these emails that I was writing, I wanted to get them done as quickly as possible. I kind of a very routine process that I'll walk you through now that I think anybody can do. I'm not promising that the first day that you do it, you'll be able to do it in 20 minutes, but I feel that if you do this regularly over 2-3 weeks, it's going to get much easier, and you will be able to cut down your time of writing these emails into just maybe 20 minutes a day. Yep.
Yeah, well, before you get going or while you share your screen, I just wanted to point out, guys, if any of you want to learn how to write emails really fast, you should check out the complete email coaching package, and you can email us about it at support@listbuildinglifestyle.com, and Olivia will share the link for you to get it. It's the recordings of the seminar, the email marketing seminar we've done in Toronto, where I showed all of my writing techniques. I'm giving my templates as well as my story templates. I'm giving a daily email plan. But in the training, I also give you the 20. How many, Lana? 23. The speed hacks that I use to write faster copy. Something like that. 23 or 25 ways that I've kind of tested that allowed me to write copy really fast. So even if you're not really like a writer or an experienced copywriter, because a lot of it doesn't really come down to the words you're writing on in the email. It actually
Or
comes down to your
creativity,
ability.
really.
What?
Or creativity, really. It's not about, being Einstein or someone who can
Yeah.
really think creatively.
Especially if you're writing to a template, which is what we show you how to do in the program. But a lot of it comes down to your ability to actually just sit down and focus, which for most people takes like at least 30 minutes in and of itself. So if you want to write emails faster, then definitely check out that program. But of course, you're going to get some really, really cool insights from somebody who's in the trenches right about now. Now, if you do have questions, guys, type them in the chat and Lana will feed them to John. And obviously, as usual, the people who ask the best questions and people who are most engaged will walk away with some swag, which can include t-shirts like this one and the one that Lana's
like
wearing.
this one.
And we should have mailed one to John before the call,
We
actually.
will, John. I'll find out where you live. I'll mail some stuff in there. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
so
excited.
it can also include a baseball cap, a pillow, a blanket, a coaster, a mouse pad, a laptop sticker. Like there's like a whole thing. So we're gonna get you going. Anyway,
Exactly. So don't forget that this is a live coaching experience. I'm with you in the chat. I'm reading your questions, and we're going to give John some space, and we're going to ask those questions in the end, at the end. But I am collecting them, so definitely go ahead and open it up. John, do it.
By the way, can you guys see my screen at this point yet?
Not yet.
No, we don't. But what we'll do is we'll disable all of our webcams, and then you'll try to share it again. Hopefully,
It's telling me I have to restart GoToWebinar before I can do it. So maybe I just have to drop off the call for.
That's
10
okay. You can go ahead and do that. In the meantime, we'll some Q&A, or maybe I can update you guys on what I've been working on. So do your thing.
Yeah, it looks like my t-shirt is cooler than yours, the chat says, Igor, so I'm not going to argue.
Oh, really? Is it because the person wearing it? Like, is the body in this t-shirt not?
I don't know about that. All I know is the t-shirt. So what is it that you're working on? First of all, congratulations on your move. It looks like there is some change of background. The light is looking good. So we don't know anything
the light's
else.
looking better because I put like a big shiny thing in front of me, so you can actually see my face because I'm in the basement. But what I like about this one is that I now have the whole basement to myself, unless my daughter comes in to play with her dollhouse, which is located conveniently right over there. As you can see, this like a giant dollhouse. Or of course, if she's like practicing her piano, which is located conveniently right over there. But
That's the life of,
if all cards,
COVID parents.
yeah, if the stars align, I'll get this basement to myself. And this is really, really good because I spent the last couple of months living in an Airbnb where I didn't really have the space. Now, what this allowed me to do, however, is allowed me to start working on a brand new program, a brand new course where I'm teaching how to make money online without a website, which is the very first time I'm coming out and I'm teaching something that doesn't involve list building. Now, I'm doing this as a result of learning that there's a ton of people who follow me who simply refuse to build a list for one reason or another. They don't want to write emails. They don't want to get bogged down with funnels. So I've been over the last couple of years, ever since coming out and really becoming the go-to guy for affiliate marketing training and list building, I've been getting email after email, request after request and it's mostly from people who are now, due to the pandemic, due to the way the economy is shifting, are basically moving away from either existing business or existing job. They're older usually. These people are usually over 45, over 50 years old, and they're coming in, they're asking how to start driving traffic and promoting offers without having to build your own websites, not having to build your own pages, not having to write your own advertorials, which is something I've been testing recently as well. And this is a result of what you guys asked for. So just as a show of hands, it's interesting to me, a program like that, would that interest you? How to make, and I don't see the chat, so Lana, you'll have to tell me, how to make money online without a website, which fundamentally will involve two things. First, how to find offers you can promote, because you still have to drive traffic somewhere, usually to someone else's website. And two, how to drive pay-per-click traffic to those offers, how to do the right keyword research, how to set up your ads, how to quickly put together those ads, etc. So you can set up automated traffic streams to other people's websites that pay you commissions. Is that something that would interest you guys? Does not
Your
involve
chat
list
is looking
building.
good. It's like,
Yeah, does not involve list building, does not involve capture pages, does not involve follow-up emails, does not involve building a persona online, does not involve starting your own YouTube channel, does not involve things like that. This is show of hands, who's game for that?
I didn't get a lot of hands, but I got a bunch of yes and absolutely. And Christine's commenting, duh. That's a good one. Yeah. So absolutely, yes, I'm game from Nestor. I would like to see that yes from John. Always want to learn anything from Igor, from Robin. Yes, 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 of course, from Christine. Excellent, excellent. So lots of engagement, Igor.
All
Sounds
right,
like
so
something
already
that-
started working on it, guys. So expect a notification. When it's ready, I'm gonna invite you to a Zoom call, and we're gonna get together. I'm gonna show you what it is and how it works and everything. And it's gonna be another chapter, another new direction we're gonna go through. And I am really hoping for your support. So
Joff says, sorry, Igor, to interrupt. Joff says, I hope you teach us one day how to do it all without a computer. That would be nice as well.
you know what? Yeah, I still don't know if you can make money on your smartphone without like actually using a computer at least sometimes. Like there's some people who can do it on Instagram and they can maybe be influencers and stuff, but you still need the computer for a lot of different things in between. So one day,
Even
though.
reading your email.
Yeah, one day. Anyway, John, let's test screen sharing.
All right, so I've just shared my
Yes.
screen. You guys did.
Yes, we can.
Going
All
to
right,
disable
so
my webcam, so
webcams
it's
go
all
off. Webcams go kaput. All right, take it away.
All right, so I'm just going to run through a little bit of a presentation that I prepared for you guys, a lot of these examples, and we'll break down some of these examples. And I also want to kind of give you a sample of how I would do this in a new market. So I don't know the different markets that everybody's in, but I'll walk you through what I would do if I were promoting an offer in, let's say, the internet marketing market itself in that niche, because I feel like it might be useful to see that as well as the examples of things that have already happened. If you have any questions, Igor, then at any point just stop me, or if people are asking questions a lot, I don't want to rattle on, but interrupt me and I'll stop.
All right. All right.
please rattle, but I am collecting questions, sure. So if you have any, send them in the chat and I'll just ask John now or later.
Okay, so here are a few of the examples of those emails that that I wrote over the last year. This was one promoting a hearing aid. This went out to a list of people who had bought various home e-commerce products, things like money-saving kitchen items, money-saving lights for their closets and things like that. So basically various kind of impulse purchases. They went through an advertorial and they got onto this list after buying a product. And then we started following up with them. And each email looked very simple and it was very much just story-based and text-based. I just want to give you a feeling of how these emails looked, and then we'll break them down and I'll show you exactly how to write these without actually writing anything or by writing very little. So this one, all it does is kind of set up the problem, which is not something that I would have known about. But if somebody has hearing problems, then they might have issues like trouble communicating with their kids, or their kids are concerned about their ability to be independent and things like that. And all of this went into the story, which was told from the perspective of the daughter of a guy in his, I guess, 60s or 70s who's having trouble with hearing. And then at the end, it was very easy to simply tie in to a product where we said, okay, here's the good solution that we found, not even hyping it up very much in the email, just saying, here's a good solution, and then linking to that. I'll come back to this, but let me show you a few of the other examples of emails that we sent out that were successful. This was to that list of people who bought a dog seatbelt. This was a series that we called Paw-Safe Stories, which was basically always just some cute, funny, dramatic story about a dog, along with a cute picture of a dog. Here's a dog that's buried inside of a couch. And at the end of the story, we somehow tied it in, again, to a different product. And without really selling the product very much in the email, simply passed people off to usually an advertorial or a sales page. Here's a third example. This was again to that first list of home product buyers. This was just kind of a dramatic story of why you want to get a knife sharpener, which seems like a very hard product to sell, because it's basically, we're selling these products that were kind of overpriced, or at least more expensive than you would pay on Amazon. And yet we had to come up with a good story or a good reason for why you would want to buy this product specifically. And again, a little email like this or a little story like that made that possible. And we'll walk through again the specifics of that email. And here's another dog style email, which again told a story and basically walked people through a story just as a way of setting up the product that we wanted to sell. Okay. And so basically what I want to do is show you how to write emails like this in kind of 3 easy steps. And the first of these steps is that you actually don't want to write anything, or you want to write as little as possible. And the best place for finding inspiration for stories for me is not Facebook, it's not Instagram, it's not any kind of news site or anything like that. It's Reddit. Reddit is really, I think of it like the reptilian brain of the internet, because people go on Reddit, they write these long posts, they comment a lot, and it's all anonymous. People are using these names like Crazy Lady Scientist, which you can see here. And because of that, they will share the kinds of stories that they would never share on Instagram, that they would never share, not on Instagram, but on Facebook or any place where they can be identified. And that's why if you go on Reddit, if you start lurking on Reddit and just following what people are writing in the niches that you're selling in, you can find all sorts of great stories. So this post right here, I just got yelled at because my dog was leashed. Sometimes you can't win. This is the exact post that I turned into this email here, right? All I did was find a dramatic story and basically turn it into an email, right? The other email that I showed you about the other dog, this came from this post here as well. And all it was again, finding something that people on Reddit had already kind of selected for me. So this had a bunch of upvotes. It appeared at the top of these subreddits on Reddit. Basically, it meant that a lot of people already found this interesting. All I did was go into a subreddit, and if you haven't used Reddit, basically it's kind of like a grouping of different forums. So there are forums on every topic. This is inside of the all forums, so basically cute pictures of dogs and cats. And I just went in, I found something that was already popular, pulled it out and turned it into an email really, really quickly. And the thing is that if you start lurking on Reddit, you realize that there are lots of potential places where you can actually find stories like this that might be relevant to your market, right? And that's the first step that you should do. And if you get anything out of this talk, it's that you should go on Reddit, you should make it a regular habit to go on subreddits where people in your market are likely to be, because you're going to find stories that have been pre-selected for you as things that are interesting to your market, right? So for example, for the dog market, which is one of these markets that I was writing for, there are probably dozens of relevant subreddits. There's there's dogs, there's individual subreddits for different breeds, there's dog training, and after being on Reddit a little while, you'll find these different subreddits and you'll find the sources of stories. For the other list that I told you about, that was probably, there were different subreddits which might be relevant. There was a subreddit for saving money. There was a subreddit for green products. There was a subreddit for products that you're going to buy once for the rest of your life. Again, go into any one of these subreddits and choose the top stories that are appearing that day or over the past week or over the past month. And Reddit allows you to do all of these things. And you basically have your email 2/3 of the way written for you, right? And a few tips that I want to give you is that basically you can search for stories that are already popular. So that's what I've basically shown you. These stories were already popular. Or if you are looking for a specific type of story because you know you want a specific type of angle, because you're maybe promoting a certain type of product and you know that you want to have a story that connects to that, you can search for that specific thing on Google or on using Reddit search. Some of the kind of hacks that I've used is basically you can search on Google through Reddit and search for things like keywords, whatever your topic is, plus story or plus so bad in quotes, because if people are telling the story, they might bring up the fact that things were so bad or the situation got so bad. So if you search for that phrase, you'll come across really, really good stories, or this happened, or rant, or things like that. Any one of these words can quickly bring you to like a story which could be relevant to you, right? And like I said, these were examples of actual Reddit posts that I turned into emails. I'll show you in a bit how I turned them into emails. But a lot of the most interesting Reddit posts that I turned into emails, I couldn't find them anymore. I guess I looked them up once, I got a good idea. They disappeared somewhere. I don't know, maybe people deleted them or what, but I couldn't find them. So I wanted to actually walk you through how I would do this if I were doing it now. And like I said, I just picked the internet marketing niche because I thought it might be relevant to a lot of guys. So I just went on to different subreddits which could be interesting to people who are looking to make money online, right? And I was
There's a surprisingly
thinking,
large community of such people on Reddit. Like you can actually go
what's
and
that?
run. I'm saying that I ran some Reddit ads last month and the
Mhm.
month before that, and I was surprised at just how relatively large the community of people wanting to make money online, people who run digital marketing agencies, people who are familiar with the words affiliate marketing, and a bunch of other terms. So there's actually a pretty substantial amount of people of age 30 plus who are like interested in making money online, who hang out on Reddit. And Lana, for example, a person goes on Reddit a lot is actually Dennis. He considers it to be the most truthful place on the internet because it's
It's
just
anonymous.
people. Yeah, because it's
Mhm.
real people sharing their real life experiences, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. People will share all sorts of stuff, really intimate details, like for example, these things. So when I was thinking, okay, internet marketing, then I think, okay, what are potential places on Reddit to go? Then there is a subreddit, let's say for affiliate marketing or for internet marketing or for copywriting or for marketing in general. But at the same time, I could imagine that there are lots of relevant stories in kind of related subreddits that aren't necessarily about making money online. So for example, one that I found was this lean FIRE thing, which I know about. So FIRE is financial independence, retire early. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
this like,
it's a real estate
Mhm.
term, right? That in real estate
It's basically people who want to have some sort of like way of exiting the, let's say, exiting the rat race, right? They want to retire at age 30 or 35 or 40, and it's like various strategies for like saving up money and like having your own business maybe that generates some cash flow so that you can retire when you want and you can do whatever you want without having to work, right? So if I'm trying to sell internet marketing, or if I'm trying to sell make money online, then I feel like it's not necessarily people who are immediately prospects for what I'm selling, but the stories that they're telling are going to be very relevant to the people who are prospects for what I'm selling, right? Or at least I can go in and I can check inside of these subreddits if it's relevant. So this was 2 days ago, I was preparing a little bit for this presentation. So I picked a bunch of subreddits that I thought could be relevant. So one of them was Leanfire. I literally went and opened up that subreddit, picked the thing that was top that day. And here it was, some guy sharing how he managed to get to a 500K net worth and exactly what he did, right? And I'll show you exactly how we would take a post like this and how we would turn it into an email, right? Let me give you a couple of other examples. Here's another one, financial independence. This is another subreddit with a bunch of people inside of it, very similar kind of vibe of people who want to retire early, who don't want to like work in a corporate job, who want to have some, outside income. Again, potentially a very good source of stories for people who also want to be like making money online. Here's the third example. This is the digital nomad subreddit. Again, digital nomads, not necessarily people who want to make money online, but there is overlap. And if you go in here, you might find stories, just searching around for 2-3 minutes, you're going to find stories or angles for stories that are relevant for your own audience. Again, in this hypothetical example of selling to an internet marketing audience. Okay. So before I show you how to write those emails, I basically showed you like where to go for finding stories, right? And that's Reddit, and that's
let's unpack what you just shared, because I think those who are less experienced in writing copy actually could miss a really important point. And the point that's so important, I think, to take away from this call, whether you even end up teaching anything or not, as far as like writing techniques, that would be less relevant, is this: you don't seem to make up stories from scratch, do you?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the thing is that I sometimes make up stories from scratch, and it's absolutely the last resort because it sounds much weaker. It's much less convincing. It's much less real. And the only time I would really make up a story from scratch is when I'm basically stitching it together from a bunch of other stuff that I know to be true, right? But there's something magical about finding a real story, even if it's got small details, even if you think that this is stuff that I could have made up on my own, but it's much more effective in my opinion to find something. I mean, if you can have your own story, that's fine. If you can bring in your own life story, but if you find yourself either hesitant about using your own stories, if you don't have lots of good stories that are relevant for your audience, or you feel there's just a mental block in your head about coming up with stories from your own background, then don't make up third-party stories, because people can smell it. I feel like we all have very inbuilt like sensors for which stories are real and which stories ring true, and it's very hard to trick those sensors. And that's why it's good to go on Reddit, pull up something which you know to be true or which sounds true and which people are already reacting to, and just use that as a starting point for your email.
Yeah, well, my experience with making stories up is a little bit different. So first off, I will gladly use made up stories if I can write them in the form of a parable or like a children's story, because as a father, I have to tell lots of stories. And, at some point you just run out. So I had to learn how to make stories on the go for my kids. And what I noticed And this is it's actually something I've ended up developing into technique, and I teach this inside the email marketing program I mentioned earlier, guys. The complete email package is basically taking almost anything as a concept, like the lesson you want to convey, and coming up with a really short children-like story with a very simple set of characters and a very short structure to deliver the point. But of course, that's a more advanced technique anyway. But a lot of times I would do like made up stories that that people would know are made up. Like I wouldn't try to pretend that it's like a real person's story that I make up. It's more like I'll make up a story between a bunny and a turtle, right? So they know it's made up. And when you do something like that, the sales defenses go down because there's a child in every one of us that remembers how it's like to have a parent or a like a figure to tell you bedtime stories, and we love it. We love it to this day.
Yeah, and I find it very essential to especially beginners who are often saying, I don't know any stories. I don't know how to tell stories. And you have so many options. You have the option that Igor offers, which is literally taking a parable, or the option that John offers, which is borrowing, quote unquote, a story from Reddit or any other platform. So as you can see, there's no shortage of where to get the story from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
I agree. I think what you were saying, what you're saying about making up a story as a parable, I think parables work great, and I think metaphors work great. That's I would do that kind of stuff all day long, but I feel like that takes more creativity in a way. The only reason that the thing that I meant was I wouldn't make up a story about, here's a problem that I had with my dog, and it's not a real problem, and I don't have a dog, but I'm making up a story and inventing a problem that I'm trying to pass it off as a real problem. That's what I meant. That I feel people can sniff those kinds of things out. But if you are telling kind of like a parable, parables work great, and I think that if you look at the Bible, those are filled with parables, and those are very powerful. So I completely agree with you there.
yeah, but the point we're making here, guys, almost no great storyteller actually comes up with all of their stories from scratch. It's not like they're so good at making stories up, because they're not. Most good storytellers simply find stories and then they tell them again and again and again. So for me, for example, I have a whole swipe file of stories I can tell, both about myself, about my friends, and I've just become, for many years now, I've become curious about other people's stories, just because we all have them. We all have tons of them. And if we're willing to invest the time and listen to other people, whether it's by reading, Reddit subthreads or having, real conversations with people, you will stumble into way more stories than you will know what to do with, So, yeah, John, so let's show us, like, how do you take a story and turn it into something? Or maybe you can break down an existing email you wrote and explain why did you why did you say what you said, and how did you structure it, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let me do that. One thing before I get to that is that I just basically want to point out what kind of stories you should go for, right? Or you should choose if you are going on Reddit, for example, then you go to a subreddit and you might see 20 different stories. So which ones should you choose among those for an email? And again, if you see that people are already resonating with a story because there's a bunch of comments, there's a bunch of upvotes on Reddit, that's one good signal that it's a story that you should also engage with. The other thing is that you can use, what I do is just use my own reactions. If I find that I'm saying, oh, wow, that's cool, or that's unexpected, or if it's some sort of extreme dramatic story and it makes you say, oh man, that's really scary, or really kind of outrageous, or really inflammatory, those tend to be really good stories to use in emails, right? So actually, speaking of that, let me give you an example of, So this was the example that I gave you before of a Reddit post that I found. So this was a guy So for example, for one thing, this post, it had a lot of upvotes within this thing. It made it to the top of the subreddit. It had a lot of comments, and the reason why is because basically there's outrage, right? So this guy was walking his dog, and the dog was on a leash, and they were not hurting anybody. The dog wasn't harming anybody, wasn't threatening anybody, and some guy just started yelling from across the street at the dog owner and the dog, and he was yelling and yelling, and eventually the dog owner figured out that the other guy on the other side of the street was yelling because the dog was on the leash, not off the leash. And so he was saying, how would you like to have a chain around your neck? And so it's this thing that, you know, dog owners usually get into trouble because their dog is not on the leash and people are scared of dogs. In this case, the guy had the dog on the leash and he was still getting yelled at. And if you're a dog owner, I guess you're gonna identify with this thing of just being outraged and saying like, you can't win, right? And that's basically what this guy is saying in his Reddit headline here. And that's one of the reasons why this post did so well. So when I saw this, I said, okay, this is perfect, right? It's got this dramatic story. It's already doing well. I'm just gonna take this thing and I'm gonna basically make it into my email. So this thing here, if you can see it, it's got, let's say 5 paragraphs. If I have to estimate, I would say it's maybe 800 to 1,000 words. This is too much stuff. Not that your emails need to be a certain length or short, but in my experience for this list that I was writing for, I wanted to keep the emails short. I wanted to basically keep the point very clear and not ramble and just kind of keep it entertaining and light, and at the same time not get distracted with other points. Oftentimes, if you're copying a story from Reddit that somebody wrote, they're going to go on a lot of tangents. And so the first thing that I would say, if you're taking a story from Reddit, is cut it down, right? So there's going to be a lot of stuff in this story. The guy's starting out, he's going for the walk, he's hearing that somebody's yelling at him, and then he figures out why the other guy's yelling. Then he says at first he's not going to respond. Then he is explaining about the dog and how the dog gets a lot of freedom and how the dog is whatever, he's rambling on. And then at the end, he's still answering questions about why the dog is not wearing a harness instead of a collar. So let me show you the actual email, which was this basic story, but with a lot of the details stripped out. So the first thing is that, you know, I took out in the post here, the guy is talking about how clearly it looked like the guy on the other side of the street was crazy, and or maybe he just had some mental illness or something was going on. This really isn't relevant for the point I'm trying to make, right? So if I'm trying to outrage people about somebody yelling at you because your dog is on a leash, then it's not good to go down the path of explaining how this guy might have some sort of mental illness. It's muddying the waters. So I took that part of it entirely, and basically what I'm saying is, guy was walking his dog. They weren't, you know, harming anybody, doing anything bad, and yet somebody started yelling on the street, and it was because the guy had this dog on a leash, right? Also, another thing here is that the entire last paragraph is that talking about the harness and why the dog is not on a harness and why that's a good thing. I definitely threw that out because basically we're selling a harness at the end, right? So throw out anything that isn't helping your case, right? And so if I'm selling a harness, I don't want to talk about how this dog is not in a harness because the harness is problematic in his case, but hey, by the way, we're selling a harness, so here's a harness to check out now. So anything that's not relevant like that, or that's hurting your case, throw that out. Then also a third example here is that, you know, the guy is talking about how he would really love to keep the dog off the leash, and but his city doesn't allow it, and there's a law and all of this stuff. And again, this is not helping my case, right? Because my point here is that it's a good thing the dog was on the leash because that means that he can have a lot of freedom, he's safe. And it's a good thing if your dog is on a harness, right? Because that's ultimately what I'm selling. So if in the original post, the guy is saying, I'd love to be able to have him off leash all the time, again, that's kind of muddying the waters for my sales pitch of saying, harnesses are great, leashes are great. This dog is super happy because he's on a leash all the time, and that means that he can go wherever he wants and he's not in danger and he's not threatening other people. And because of that, I'm throwing out that bit about not wanting to have a dog on the leash, and I'm basically saying leashes are great, harnesses are even better. Here, check out our harness, right?
So you're always keeping things relevant and making sure that you're not confusing people with small details that don't really give a lot to your point, and you just keep it short and sweet and relevant and to the point.
Exactly. And I think that does double duty. So I think it makes your message stronger, right? So basically it's making the sales message stronger, even though it doesn't feel stronger, but it's stronger because you're taking out all the distractions. And at the same time, it makes your email shorter. And again, I don't think it's not necessary to keep your emails under a certain word count, but if you can get the same message across in 300 words as in 500 words, that's still going to make more sales in general, right? Unless you can put those 500, if you use that extra text in your email to somehow create more drama, to create more emotions, to give people other reasons for buying or checking out your offer, then fine. But if you're just rambling on or talking about stuff that's not relevant, that's not helping your case, right? It's probably hurting you, right? And so basically trim out the fat from the stories that people are telling on Reddit, right? So I would say that's kind of the first step of taking the story, make it easy to read, break it up into individual lines like this. Again, this guy had these big blocks of text. I took it, I broke it up. He was telling the story in the first person. I told it in the third person because I'm just basically saying, hey, here's this interesting story that I read online. And take out any fat. And that first part really doesn't require any writing. So it's just kind of mechanical work of making it easy to read and throwing out anything that's not helping your case. There are two parts of the actual email where you have to write, right? And those parts are important, right? Very important. The first is the first sentence, right? And there's this online personality, this writer, James Altucher, and he says you want to bleed in the first line. So the first line should somehow suck people in. It should be really dramatic. It should make people want to read on because things are curious, or they've gotten curious and they need to find out what's happening, and there's some emotion being built up. So let me just show you a few of the examples. So in this case, it was basically taking this idea from the guy's thing that sometimes you can't win. So I turned that into the first line here, basically saying you can't please everybody. And then this was kind of a formula that I always used for these emails, which was to say, today's positive story is about how you can't please anybody. And then we get into the actual story. Let me show you a couple of other examples. So here, this positive story is an explanation of the famous barking domino effect, right? So again, this is not necessarily bleeding, but it's creating some curiosity, right? So you don't know what the barking domino effect is and why it's famous. That makes you want to read on. And if you're going to put an effort into any part of your email body copy, put an effort into the first line, right? Again, a third example here is today's positive story covers a sensitive topic that many owners can relate to. So again, sensitive topic. Well, what is the sensitive topic people want to find out? You're not just saying it's a dog topic. There's something sensitive about it, and many owners can relate to. So again, just find a way to make that first line a little bit of a tease, a little bit dramatic. I don't know. Let me see if there's another example here. Yeah, this one is not so much. I think if I were writing this email today, I might do a better job than I did here, for example, because I feel like this is a story, but it's not as dramatic as I would like to make it now, right?
So you want to attract attention right away.
Exactly.
And I like this idea that you have with your flow, because you do not put people in a position where they need to write a lot, right? So you take an existing story, you edit it in a way that makes it shorter, makes it more relevant, but you don't do a lot of writing yourself, don't do a lot of creative work yourself that many people hesitate and they feel afraid of. So that's very good if you're a beginner and you don't know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So basically take the story, format the story in a nicer way, and then just write an introductory sentence that sucks people into the story. And then the other thing that you have to do, of course, is once the story kind of concludes, you have to tie it into your product, right? And so in that example that I was showing you just now, the story of the guy who was getting yelled at on the street for having a dog on the leash. So what I did was that in the actual post, this is another tip that maybe I forgot to mention, is that it's once you find an interesting story, it's worth also looking at some of the top comments, because there you might find kind of a continuation of that story that can give you like an easy lead into selling your product. So maybe that's not 100% clear. So let me give you an example, because somewhere in here, I'm not sure exactly where, but basically if you read through one of these comments, what people are basically saying is that, once I finish this story, then I get into the point here how this dog being on a leash is actually a really good thing, because it means that because he's on a leash, he can walk whenever and wherever he wants. He can choose where he goes, and he's safe. And because of that, he gets a lot more freedom than actually if he was off the leash. And this was one of the comments, right? So I have that initial story, then I have this little comment that I also peeled in from Reddit. It's kind of this transition paragraph. And then, all I really have to do is to say, look, it's great, except that, leashes are great, except that some dogs don't do well on a leash. They pull their owners really badly. And here I use a metaphor, like an empty sack of flour behind them. And that's basically all the writing that I do, because I say, and we have this harness which helps you train your dog to stop pulling, right? And so the only thing that I really had to write was that introductory sentence. And I have the story, I have that kind of transition paragraph about it's really good if your dog is on the leash for the dog and for you. And if leashes aren't working for you, here's this thing that might be really, really great, right? And that's it, right? And I can show you some more examples of these lead-ins to the sale, but basically you don't have to think very hard. And again, if you're choosing a story from Reddit, you're probably going to have in mind already what you want to promote. Or once you find a good story, you might have a product in mind for that you want to promote that's going to fit very naturally, right? So in this case, again, this was an example of a Reddit story of somebody cutting their finger with a really dull knife. And the whole point was that you might think that dull knives are just dull, are a hassle, but actually dull knives are more dangerous than sharp knives because you have to use more pressure. And here was a story about a woman who the only time she got stitches in her life was cutting a green pepper with a dull knife. And basically what I was selling is a knife sharpener, right? So I said, okay, dull knives are bad, so what are you going to do? You're going to throw the knife out? No. Are you going to try to get a whetstone, which is that, I guess, like rock that you sharpen a knife with? I don't know how to use that. I don't want to learn. All I did, I found something better. It's really good. I'm super happy with it. Even somebody who's not talented in the kitchen can use it. And that's all the selling that I do. And basically then I forward people to the actual sales page. So I don't have to sell a lot. I don't have to make a lot of claims, and basically painting the story and saying, look, if you're kind of excited, or if you think that this is a real problem, here's something that worked for me, or here's something that you might want to check out. And that's all the kind of transition stuff that I need to do. A final example of that is, again, this was about, this dog who gets scared of thunderstorms. Another Reddit story about a guy who builds a fortress for his dog out of couch pillows, right? And I have a picture of the actual dog from the Reddit post packed up in these couch pillows. What we were selling was a bed, a dog bed that was supposed to help dogs with anxiety. So it was a specially fluffy bed that kind of made a dog feel protected and wrapped up in this bed. So I took the entire story from Reddit. I wrote some sort of introductory sentence. I told that entire story, which was basically just copying it, taking out the stuff that wasn't relevant, and then saying that, look, a couch is great, but you don't want to like mess up your entire couch or go through this exercise of building a fortress for your dog. Instead, here's this really cool product that works really well for dogs who get stressed out by
Mhm.
noise or fear, right? And that's all the selling I'm doing. So that's really it.
I like that. It's a powerful technique because if you think about it, first of all, many beginners don't even have the, income proof that they can make claims with to start with. And even those that do have it may not be impressive because they're just starting out, or it may even create skepticism. And by telling that story, you're somehow selling without selling, right? You're driving the point home, but you're not making any claims whatsoever. You just let the story speak for itself, and that's very powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I think that's so. I brought up these Reddit posts for kind of that I would use if I were trying to write emails to the internet marketing to a list where I was selling internet marketing products. And I think that that's a really good example. So I think if I, for example, use this story here, as soon as I saw this, so basically this is a guy who's saying how over the past 14 years, he's saved, he's worked, and now he's super excited that he's got 500K in net worth, right? And as soon as I saw this, I was thinking, well, okay, if I'm selling make money online, then I would take this and I could make this into a great lead into making money, any kind of make money online offer. Because for me, when I read this thing is, I would basically say, okay, here's a story that I just read. It's this guy, he's 40 years old. He's been saving for the past 14 years. He's been living with flatmates, working jobs, I don't know, whatever the details of the story here are. So that would be the story. And then the time would be, I would say like, look, I don't want to like criticize anybody. And I think it's great that this guy managed to save up money, but what is he going to do now, right? So he can't really like live off this money for the rest of his life. And it's not really
Mhm.
enough money to, just put in the bank and live off the interest, right? So, if you're going to be making, if you're going to put this in the bank with, let's say, 5% return, I don't know what that is. That's 25K a year. So you're basically making $2,000 a month off the interest of 14 years of work. And that's something that I can show you how to do within 3 months, right? And if you want to see how to do that, here's the link, right? So again, whatever the product is going to be, you can tell. I think any internet marketing offer can make a claim that within 3 months you're going to be making $2,000 a month, or it's at least possible. And I feel like, again, just taking the story and positioning it as, this guy's super proud and I guess good for him. But if you'd like to do that, I have a much better way for you, right?
Mhm.
A second example is, again, this other thing that I just pulled up a couple of days ago. So if you read through this entire thing, again, this woman is basically explaining how she got financially independent and what she was doing, and she's got this photography practice. And again, this is a long thing, and if I were using this, I would strip out a lot of the details, which are not relevant. The one thing that I found was really interesting was that she says one of the things that she realized was taking the skills that she had, just taking it to an industry where they valued it and paid much more for it, right? And I thought this was a really interesting idea. So basically what I would do is, tell this woman's story and get to this point and say, look, the big insight that she had was she was exercising the same skill set, but applying it to an industry, blah, 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 right? And then I would say you can do the same if you take the basic marketing knowledge that I'm going to give you and just apply it to a niche of people where these people have never seen these kind of like advanced marketing tactics, right? And these people are going to react to it in a much better way. And you don't have to do anything magic, just follow the proven hardcore smart internet marketing tactics that I'm going to show you and take it to a niche that I can help you find, and it's going to work really well, and that's where you're going to get paid well. Again, these aren't necessarily great examples, but I'm just telling you how my thought process would be if I found a story like this and I'm just trying to tie it into kind of a new offer that I'm promoting. And just maybe as the final example again, this one was somebody asking on subreddit for digital nomads, like what are some good underrated cities in the US for a millennial to live? And there were a bunch of comments, and then somebody suggested Minneapolis, right? And in one of the comments, which again is a good reason to read through the comments, somebody's saying, look, we've had riots every year for the last 5 or 6 years now. Gun crime is on the rise. We've had shootings, carjackings. There's a worsening opiate problem. So if I were writing this email, I would say, look, where do you want to live? I just saw this thread. People had all sorts of suggestions. You want to live here, you want to live there. Third person said Minneapolis, which sounds good, but then, and then I would bring in this comment and say, look, this is really not a good place. And I don't know where you're living, but if you are living in a place where you either don't have a lot of opportunities, or you're worried about your own safety or for the safety of your family, or you just hate the weather, right? Why do you have to live in a place where you don't want to be? I can show you how to make money from wherever you are. And then again, we just link to whatever internet marketing offer that we're selling, right? So again, just easy ways to tie in whatever you find on Reddit, which is already doing well, which people are already writing for you, and just finding a way to twist it a little bit and connect it to the story of that, or to the offer that you're selling, right? So if you guys have any questions, I can take questions, but there's one last thing that I basically want to tell you, and that's probably the most important part, which is the subject lines, right? So any questions at this point, or should I just plow on?
I actually do have a couple of questions, and one of them is about the subject line. So I think that I will let you go first, and then if you'll answer it, then maybe it won't be relevant anymore.
Sure. So the subject line basically sells everything you're going to do inside, right? So if you build up enough relationship capital with your email list, they will open emails even if you have a bad subject line, but I wouldn't count on it. And you still need to build up that relationship. And the way you build up the relationship is by having a good subject line and then having a good email, right? But the email will never get read, or very rarely get read, unless you have a good subject line. It makes a big difference, right? So the one place for putting in work, besides maybe the first sentence of your email, is the subject line, because the same way that the first sentence sells the rest of your email and the story that you found on Reddit, the subject line sells the entire body of your email, right? And let me give you a few examples of subject lines that have done well for me, and then I'll basically break it down for you so that it becomes very clear. I'll give you kind of a test for your own subject lines so you have a good idea whether they are going to be good or not, right? So here is one of the best performing emails that we had for this dog list, which was cutting dog nails with 2 slices of cheese. Then there was another email that I didn't pull up, but this was for paper soap, which is basically kind of like these little leaves of soap that you can take with you, that they used to be for camping, but in the age of COVID, it became kind of a big deal to take them with you instead of hand sanitizer. So during the Corona boom, the guys that I was working with were selling this paper soap. So the subject line that we used was use paper soap to get your hands germ-free wherever you are. And paper soap was in quotes. And then a third example that I can just show you is this new way to stop the barking domino effect, right? So these are 3 examples of subject lines that all worked well. And we reused some of these emails and they continue to work well. So I'll give you basically 3 criteria that I think all 3 of these subject lines share, right? So the first is that they are clear. And what I mean by that is A lot of times people write subject lines where you really don't know what it's about. They're kind of like mysterious, they are strange, they are too clever. And again, if you build up a lot of relationship capital with your email list, those kinds of subject lines can work. But for the email lists that I've written for these big affiliate email lists, we basically wanted to be very clear about what the email was actually talking about, right? So cutting dog nails, that's what this email is about. A new way to stop the barking domino effect. Basically, this email is about stop barking, right? That's somewhere in there. This one here, this one is more of a curiosity thing, but I think it's, again, clear that this is what this email is about, right? So we're not trying to be too clever. Another example, dull knives are dangerous, but here's a quick fix. There's really nothing very clever there. It's very clear what this is about. And honestly, I would say this is probably the biggest thing, because if your email can be, this is surprisingly powerful, right? I think that a lot of times just being clear can create readership, even if you don't have a lot of other copywriting trickery inside of your copy or inside of your subject lines. That said, once your subject line is fairly clear, what you want to do, the second step, is you want to telegraph self-interest, right? So again, anybody who has a dull knife in their kitchen who isn't maybe aware of why this is a problem is probably going to open it up if you say dull knives are dangerous, because they might think that dull knives are a nuisance, but not that they're dangerous, and especially if you promise them a quick fix. So the first thing is make it clear. The second thing is speak to self-interest. And again, this is really not anything revolutionary, but it's very easy to forget it. And if you double check your subject lines, it's going to make them better to see that you're actually speaking to people's self-interest. Again, new way to stop the barking domino effect. People who have dogs who are barking, they want to know how to stop barking, right? So people who have dogs and they have a hassle with cutting dog nails, they're going to open up any email that mentions cutting dog nails. So again, you're speaking to self-interest. And then the third thing, of course, is if you can work it in, create curiosity, right? And in this case, I could have said how to cut dog nails. That could be a subject line. I probably would have done okay. But if I can basically speak to self-interest and create curiosity of how do you cut dog nails with 2 slices of cheese, that kind of like throws people for a loop, and it's something that's relevant to them. And so people are going to open this up. And again, this email did very well. Right?
How do you do something like that? If I would have a dog and, nail cutting would be a thing for me, then I would definitely open that email.
Exactly, right? And the thing is that this isn't my cleverness here, right? So one trick for me is I very rarely write subject lines ahead of time, right? So I usually finish up the entire email, and then I go back and I say, okay, well, what is this email about? Cutting dog nails. How can I make it interesting? Well, if you actually read the recipe for how this woman pet this dog's nail, not the dog in the picture, but this thing is that basically she figured out the dog loves cheese. She had positive reinforcement. She would give the dog a little bit of cheese, and while the dog was eating the cheese, she would cut the dog's nails, right? So if I'm selling, new dog clippers, then I could maybe say cutting dog nails with innovative new dog clippers, and that could be good because it's kind of new, but it's not as curiosity provoking as 2 slices of cheese. So again, what I'm just saying is go through your email and find some sort of bit of information which is the most unusual, which you can pair up with the self-interest that you already have in your email, right?
I especially liked when you said anything that sounds, you mentioned this word inflammatory, right? So anything that sounds unusual, anything that sounds like it would, get someone to experience a certain emotional reaction, whether it be surprise or anger or, disdain, even if it's something negative. you do want to attract attention with any of those subject lines, that would be very good, because the moment someone opens your email, it's like 50% of the work already done.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
That's fantastic.
So basically, I'm pretty much done. I just wanted to wrap up by, again, finishing up this kind of like hypothetical example. So if I were writing this email, the way that I was thinking about it is that, again, this is the story of the guy who saved for 14 years. Now he's got 500K in the bank. And my point is, like, good for him, but what is he going to do now? He's basically still got to keep working. And, you know, I've got a different way, a different option for you. If you don't want to work for 14 years just to be able to say that you have 500K and you still have to keep working. So the subject line that I thought of for this, again, without spending a lot of time on it, would be the 14-year online wealth shortcut, right? And again, 14 years because this guy has been saving for 14 years, and I'm telling you how you can get, you know, by following my program, how you can get to where he is in what took him 14 years, you could get there, you know, in 2 months, or you can get there tomorrow if you basically start working strongly enough. And the other thing is that, again, I feel like it's really important to telegraph what your email is about. So if I'm saying the 14-year wealth shortcut, that is good, but if I'm basically selling to people who want to make money online, I feel it's important to telegraph this online thing, right? So that's why I would say the 14-year online wealth shortcut, even though it's not particularly, there's nothing especially informative there, but I feel like, again, for a market that is interested in a specific thing, you want to telegraph to them specifically. So in this case, I would add in online wealth shortcut, right? Second of the third examples is this woman who was basically saying she was doing well, and then she figured out she could take the same skills that she already had, just take it to a new industry. So I would say something like aha moment that leads to online marketing success, right? And that's basically the aha moment that she had. And I would say you can have the same aha moment and, you know, take the marketing skills that I give you, which work well in internet marketing, and apply them to any other niche, and they will work well for you, right? And again, combining online marketing success, which speaks to interest, and then aha moment, which is kind of this curiosity thing of like, what is the aha moment I want to find out? And then the final thing here would be, again, this is about digital nomads and where to live. And I would maybe write a subject line like the worst city to live as a digital nomad, right? So if some segment of my list was digital nomads, then I'm sure this would get their attention, because here's a copywriting trick which works very well. Go to the extreme, right? So rather than saying this is a really bad city to be in if you're a digital nomad, say this is the worst city to be in as a digital nomad. And if you don't want to make the claim that this is the worst city to be in as a digital nomad, then say the worst city to live as a digital nomad and put a question mark after it, right? That way, you're basically still saying this thing, you're still creating the same level of curiosity without necessarily burying yourself in this hole of saying this is really the worst city, and then having people kind of dismiss you and saying like, okay, this guy is just full of hype, right? So go to the extreme. And in this case, I feel like it's more of kind of a content email, right? You're not talking about necessarily about an outcome, but I feel like it's relevant enough to a large segment of this hypothetical list of people who are interested in making money online, people who basically want to work from home or work from wherever they are and travel the world, that I think that this could be a good subject line for that kind of email, where I'm basically saying like, look, you can live in Minneapolis if you really want to, but if you don't want to live in Minneapolis, if you don't want to live in the town that you're living in, then I've got a solution for you. And I feel like this subject line would be a good lead-in. And that's basically everything that I've got. I'm willing to, you know,
Awesome.
dive into anything else you guys want, but that's all the stuff I
Thank you for taking that time, because it seems like you really enjoy writing emails, but You've also done such a fantastic job breaking down how you're doing that without, reinventing the wheel in a way that would suit someone who is just getting started. And I had a lot of questions in the chat, but I have Jeff, Shane, Christine, James, that whenever they ask the question, they're commenting, you just answered it. So a lot of the questions were already answered. But of course, if anybody's questions were not answered, then do send them over right now. I will ask them. I do have a couple. And I have Jock, by the way, who, so Shane says, I just had another aha moment. Jock says, thank you so much, John. Shane says, thank you. Ken, Bo says, this was great, John. Thank you so much. Christine says, thank you for sharing. There's so much good feedback. You can definitely, I'm not sure if you see the chat, but you can definitely go ahead and open it to see all of that, just because I won't read all of that. But to ask a few questions, I'm going to enable my camera as well. First of all, I want to start with Ken, who has a great question. He's asking, what is your strategy to increase your click-through rate? If you have any specific tricks up your sleeves for us.
I would say it's a few different things. I think, again, I think the entire email is going to influence the click-through rate. So if you have a good story, which is getting people, like you said, emotionally stirred up, that's already a big part of getting people to click through, because at that point you don't even need to say very much. Like I think the emails that I was showing you, I didn't do a lot of selling, right? And if anything, for the emails that I was using, I would let the sales page or the editorial do most of the selling, and I would keep kind of the I would do the minimal amount to basically build some sort of intrigue, where I wasn't just saying like, hey, click here. I would basically say like, here's a solution, here's why it's good, but it would still hold something back. And I feel like that's a good reason. That's a good way to get people to click through. But I don't have any specific tricks, because I feel like
that's a trick already.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like the whole approach of writing these kinds of emails is a way of getting people to click through. And I think the other thing is that this is not a trick. It's a strategy of basically promoting good products that you're happy with, kind of delivering on what you're going to say you're going to deliver. And that way, if you have an entertaining email and at the end of it you say, hey, I have like something that I'm happy to recommend to you, then I feel like that's a much stronger way to get people to click through than having some sort of like copywriting trick or like literally tricking people into clicking. So I feel like long term, it's much better to have a solid relationship with your list, again, by telling stories and by promoting good offers. And that's honestly the best way to get people to click through consistently, rather than just tricking them once.
I'm smiling because Shane says in the chat, I'm starting this method today. Shane, I have a very good memory, so I'm going to hold you accountable for that. And the good feedback, by the way, just keeps coming in. Ronald says that you answered a lot of his questions, and so many other comments as well. Definitely open up the chat. We'll send you a copy of that as well. And many people who I speak to who are just coming into the industry think that it's all about the product, and they think that they need to just reveal everything, and they are very surprised when they see emails that don't reveal any details whatsoever. You will be surprised, but many times the less details you reveal, the more curious people are going to get. So that method of not putting everything out there and then giving people no incentive and no reason to click the link may actually be something that you would want to avoid. And sometimes you would just talk about a certain concept but give no solution whatsoever, and then you basically create that itch that people want to scratch by checking and visiting that link. You had there was a question from John that you already had a section about and you answered it, but if you could just repeat a little bit more about that. So that question from John was, do you think shorter copy is better than longer copy or vice versa? I know that Igor has his own opinions on that, so I would love for you to elaborate because you already shared a little bit about the length.
So I'm definitely not concerned about keeping copy short. So I don't think that you need to worry about people reading because they will read. The thing is that I'm just rereading a copywriting book right now, and this stuff was the same issue 60 years ago. People were worried that copy is too long. It's not that your copy needs to be short, but your copy can often be made better by writing and then trimming it down. And that doesn't mean that it ultimately needs to be short, but if you allow yourself to write and you write, let's say 700 words, and if you can then condense that into 600 words or 550 words, in general, your email or your copy is going to be better. It doesn't mean that every email needs to be 550 words. It just means that if you take more copy and you condense it, it tends to get better. But in general, longer copy works better. So if you have interesting things to say, if you have good stories, if you have good sales arguments, if you can get people emotionally stirred up, if you can do it from a lot of different angles, that works really well. So long copy works better, and long copy slightly condensed works even better than anything else.
And that's to, again, answer the question about the length. Notice that John says, essentially, don't talk if there's no reason to, right? If you have nothing interesting to say, don't say it. You can go as long as you want, only if you're staying relevant, right? So if you remember, he took a whole story and he was stripping it. This is not relevant, this is not relevant. But what is relevant, when it's left there alone, is just magnified. And of course, like John says, and Igor says it a lot as well, the longer you go is often better, again, unless you're staying engaged and interested, because then you're creating that relationship, you're pulling the person deeper into your world, and then all the magic happens. Now, I had another couple of questions. So first of all, about the subject lines, you already answered that, right? So what kind of subject line would we have? Can it be just the first sentence of the email? It doesn't really have to be that first sentence, but as long as you're keeping it interesting, as long as you're appealing to that self-interest, you'll be good as well. So you answered that. And okay, there are so many comments of like good feedback that I'm just struggling to find the questions, because every comment that I open up is just good feedback. Like Robin, for example, saying, and there are so many people who were actually surprised by Reddit. That was funny. Robin says that I'm embarrassed to say you actually introduced Reddit to me. It's a new platform, and it is true that many people either don't know about it yet or don't spend a lot of time in there. And I can tell you it's fairly addictive. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but it is a great place to go for stories. And John, knowing you as a copywriter and hearing about your progress and success with, I mean, $2,000 days, that's impressive. Is Reddit the only place that you go to, or do you go to other places to take that inspiration as well?
It depends. So for this kind of what I've showed you just now is really the most stripped down core of what I do. And if I have to write a lot of emails, if I didn't want to write emails, I think I could do this all day long. When I'm doing research for copywriting, or when I'm writing for my own list, then I do a lot of other research, basically books, websites. But I think in terms of customer research, finding out what people are saying in a specific niche, Reddit is really, really good. The only comparable thing to it would be other forums. Again, I don't think that Facebook is very useful, because I feel like on Facebook, there's a lot of posturing and people are basically saying things that, you know, they're not going to be revealing these deep down secrets that they will reveal on Reddit. And I've written in some crazy niches, and I've written for some products where the underlying problems were really serious. And on Reddit, and on other forums where people aren't revealing their names, people will really share dark stuff or really personal stuff. And it's that kind of stuff that actually works well if you integrate it into your copy. So I would say Reddit, by far the best. Other forums that you can just basically find by searching on Google for your topic plus forum, those are really good. Facebook, not very good. Amazon reviews, in my experience, also not very good. I feel like, again, a lot on Amazon. There's just a lot of people complaining. There's a lot of people posturing if they are publishing a review under their own name. And I think on Amazon, there's also just tons of fake reviews. And I think that Amazon sounds like a good place where you can get insight into what people are thinking about a specific topic, but for me personally, it hasn't been very useful. So I would say by far the best is Reddit.
And first of all, the anonymity is a big part of it, because when people think that they're not going to be identified, this is when the best stuff comes out. And what I find interesting is that you just answered another question, which is basically, should I avoid things that are uncomfortable, right? So you can be in any markets. Notice that we discussed so many different things today. We discussed investments and dogs and so many, knives, so many things that have nothing to do with one another, because at the end of the day, it's all about collective principles that can work in any market, be it back pain or weight loss. And a question that we see a lot is, should I avoid things that are controversial or the biggest concerns, or those stories of, like, for example, in weight loss, maybe there's this woman who bought this dress for her son's wedding, and then by the time the wedding came 6 months later, she couldn't fit into the dress anymore. It's a very emotional story, and many people ask, should I avoid these things or should I focus on them intentionally? Then, as you can see, John is not only focusing on them, but he's actually seeking them out, because those are the true and honest feelings that we have, that if you appeal to, you can really help your market go ahead and solve this problem or solve that problem. Or even, it's enough to just be empathetic about the fact that the problem exists, because we are all subconsciously looking for someone who understands what we're going through. And it's by addressing those things that are uncomfortable, that we don't discuss in day-to-day conversation, that you can actually take up a very special place in your prospects world. And with that said, thank you. John, do you have the chat open? Do you see all of that feedback? Thank you so much to everybody for this amazing feedback. I counted 6 comments of people who promised to implement what you shared with us today, John. So I'm going to wait for next week to hear how that went, because I'm going to keep all of you accountable. And we will have to send you one of those t-shirts, John, as well, for a job well done. So with that said, just real quick before we wrap this up, before we bring Igor on board as well, I want to announce the prize winner for today. We'll do some drum rolls on the wall. And that would be Ronald Stoltz. I hope that I'm pronouncing your name right. Ronald, I know that you're only joining us recently in July, but I'm observing you all this call. I'm observing you for a while now, and we are excited to have you on board. So we'll definitely send you a prize. We'll contact you via email to see what is your shipping address. And in the meantime, let's do some sound testing. Igor, are you with us listening to us? Or because we don't see your camera. Your camera is off, so. Oh, there we go. There you are. Yep. So we did announce the prize winner. And by the way, I see a lot of thank yous for John and some thank yous for Igor as well. Igor, we appreciate the fact that you have your eyes open for the talent, always scanning and looking for more people to bring to the community so they can learn.
Talent. Whenever I learn from somebody who writes copy for a living, it's fascinating to note how almost everything a person who needs to write a lot in a short space of time and has to do it for many different markets, almost everything they do tends to end up becoming a formula. And if it's not an obvious formula to an outsider, then it's definitely an obvious formula to them, where they start creating material and writing, be it subject lines or emails or stories or copy or offers or editorials. They have to do it that way because it saves a lot of time. Because if you had to write everything from scratch every single time, using a different concept, using a different approach, you'd never be able to get anything done. And if you can't get anything done as a copywriter and you can't meet your deadlines, you're not gonna make a lot of money.
Guess what?
The interesting part is that when you surrender to the idea that copy is formulaic and that there are templates and there are this formulaic approaches to pretty much everything copy, you also end up increasing conversions. Because one of the things that I'm pretty sure you guys noticed as John's been walking us through some of the Reddit stuff and the stories he picked out, he picks out the most emotional or the most emotionally charged stories, right? He could have easily picked other stories that are less emotional, but there's a reason why he picks the outrage story. There's a reason why he picks a story about somebody who's been trying to save up money for 15 years, because that's the kind of stuff that we can all relate to and that gets us emotional. And it's the emotional part of us that ends up making the buying decision. And it's the logical part that just ends up justifying it to ourselves. Every single decision you ever make is an emotional one, whether you realize it or not. And even the decision to not be emotional is an emotional decision in and of itself, which is a bit of a, kind of messing, just a bit of a trivia, Yeah. So I wanted you to see what's in the mind of a real copywriter. I wanted you to see that even though, yes, there's some thinking behind it, there's some work behind it, but at the end of the day, it can be applied to different niches into different directions. And the biggest takeaway for me personally from this is just how much how much copy, be it stories or anything else, is just available for the taking for free if I were to just be willing to look for it. I think it was I don't recall who said it. I think it was Gene Schwartz, but someone said that, or Gary Bencivenga maybe, but someone said that writer's block doesn't exist, and if you experience writer's block, it's basically lack of research. It's a really powerful concept to grasp, because if you do some of your research, and I'm sure that John spends probably just as much, if not more time on research as he would on actually writing something. If you do spend some time on research, you will quickly have a wide range of ideas to tap into. So rather than trying to write copy from scratch or come up with unique and exciting ways and exquisite ways to say something, just pay attention to what's around you. And be it using Reddit or be it using any other place of discussion where people go and talk about things that are relevant to your market, just open your eyes, pay attention, and your copy may even end up writing itself in a way. You just have to be the one to consolidate it into from this spot and this spot and this spot into a coherent piece. But that's not writing, that's more like management. So yeah, I'm really grateful to you, John, for showing this and sort of validating this concept over and over again for us, because pretty much the number one thing that stops people, in my opinion, from writing good copy is not lack of writing experience. It's not lack of creativity or anything like that. It's more about the fear of them not meeting this sort of this, I don't know what's the word, this idea that they aren't, like, they're not a writer, as if a writer is
A
somebody.
personal barrier almost.
Yeah, it's an identity thing, really, for me. Once somebody realizes that writing good emails is not about being a writer, they start writing good emails.
And those are not novels, right? We're talking about emails that sell, right? So I really appreciate Kevin posted this comment. He says that Eugene Schwartz said that copy isn't written, it's assembled. And that's literally what it is. Like, imagine those are different pieces and parts that come together. And with that said, I wanted to, first of all, thank you, John, for bringing all of
Hold
this
up,
to us.
we do have to do one more thing, and we don't tend to do it
Oh,
because we don't invite a lot of people to these calls. But one of the things that I wanted to do
mhm.
is, John, could you tell us whether you do work for clients, and whether you want to take on new clients to write emails, and if you do, how can people reach out to you? And besides that, of course, where can we go to tap more of your thinking, to get your wisdom, and basically, where do we go to get more John?
Sure. So if you take my last name, which is Bejakovic, Bejakovic, and you go to that .com, so bejakovic.com, that'll take you to my website, and I've got an email list. So I'm building my own email list. You can sign up there, but I've also got a bunch of blog posts of old emails. So if you don't want to sign up for any reason, then you can just read those, and you can contact me through there as well. So I've got the contact page. You'll see my own email, which is just john@bejakovic.com. You can write me there. I do take on clients. I mean, I've got a lot of work, but I'm always ready to talk to people. And if I think I can help, then I'm always down. So if anybody wants to contact me, go right ahead. And otherwise, I think on my own site, I've got like a lot of uh, ideas for copywriting. So I think
Yeah, the site is a great place to go and tap for ideas, for inspiration. Like sometimes, I would go and read some of your posts, and I'd be like,
It's
I
obvious.
know
Why
this.
didn't we do
It's
it
like I've
before?
read it a million different times, but the way you would state it, the way you would describe it, the way you would frame it, kind of allows me to recognize the concept again and go write something. So, you know, I've also learned over the years that just by consuming, um, based on who I am consuming at the time. So in other words, I'm always reading someone's books or posts or listening to someone's podcasts, right? So based on who I'm consuming, my performance tend to change. So sometimes I'll be reading an author like Dan Kennedy, my performance will go up. Sometimes I'll be reading some kind of a relationship or management book, and then I would just become a little bit better at communicating to people in my life. With you, what I found is, while I am now officially bored with pretty much anything that has to do with copywriting because I've read everything there is to read. I've worked directly with John Carlton. I mean, I've met the best guys. I worked with the best. I paid them. It's just, I mean, I can teach copy just as well as they can, and it's not something that's a mystery to me anymore. What I do find is that when I read your copy, your emails, your blog, um, it's different. I don't know what is it about it, but it's just it has a different flavor to it, and that flavor is what once again makes me kind of salivate a little bit, wanting to find out what are you talking about. I think a couple of days ago you sent out an email about an experiment um, that took place a while back, but I don't recall what the experiment was. Like I was reading that email, and it's like I was reading some of the first copywriting books I've ever laid my hands on. Like for the first time, it'd be like, oh my God, you can influence people and they will give you money in writing. It's like you can send them a letter and they will send you money back. It was really that exciting to me, which doesn't happen often. So that's why I recommend, guys, you go and check out bejakovic.com. That's spelled Bejakovich.com.
no H at the end.
No H?
No H at the end. So
No
B,
H.
yeah.
Okay, so it's Bejakovic
Okay. Oh, V, I see. That's right.
.com, and go check him out. I definitely recommend you get on the list because John writes really cool emails. Even if you don't plan to read them, because you will learn from them. A lot of them are story based, but you will also learn about the way to open an email, the subject line to use, and just overall how to structure them, because they're neat, they're like clean, they're like they just feel easy to read, just they kind of drag you in and you don't even notice until you read the whole thing. So definitely, get on his list just to spy on him, really. uh, that's it. I mean, that's my advice to you.
Yeah, don't even notice how you're reading them, I think, is an indication of very good copy, because you're so drawn in that you just don't pay attention anymore. And of course, just a reminder to everybody that if you are enjoying your experience with the List Building Lifestyle, if you appreciate Igor seeking out new speakers all the time and bringing all of this value, not to your doorstep, but to your earbuds and eyeballs directly every single week, then definitely go ahead and head over to igor.cx/review and leave us that glowing 5-star review. Share some love about, any program that you're going through, your experience with Igor in general. Definitely go ahead. And of course, if you enjoyed, so that link again is igor.cx/review. And of course, if you enjoyed some of John's material, then definitely go ahead and contact him as well. So thank you again, everybody. Extremely excited for these calls. And we're not saying goodbye because we'll see you in the next one. So have a good one. John, Igor, thank you again. Have a good week.
Before we wrap up, Lana, real quick, John, would you be able to send us maybe some PDFs or links to the emails and different things you showed today? Yeah, that'd be really cool. We'll include them in the recordings as well. Also, guys, if you have any questions to John, please do not forward those questions to us. Make sure you go to bejakovic.com. That's BEJ K
You're getting better at this.
KOVIC.com. See, I'm a good speller. And so that's the daily affirmation I have for myself. So I'm a good speller. And I do my Tony Robbins power moves, like I'm a good speller. I'm a good speller. And so go to Bijakovic.com, look him up. You can Google John Bijakovic, and even if you misspell it, Google will still take you to the right spot. If you have questions for him, if you want to hire him to write you some copy for an offer you've got, if you want to maybe hire him as a consultant or coach to review your copy, it's something I used to do a lot when I was a beginner. I used to try and look up copywriters that didn't charge me like crazy amounts of money and try to get their opinion on the things I was writing, which helped shape my understanding better, because when you're just starting out, you're not able to go and spend. Like last month, I've done about $40,000 worth of tests on Google AdWords and different things, like totally different ludicrous testing on different audiences, different pages, totally new angles and things like that. Like that's the luxury I have today because of the budget that I have, because of the time that I have, because of the passion for discovery that I have. But when I was a beginner, all I really wanted is for someone to look at my stuff and say, is this good shit or not? Like, is this gonna like convert or not? Like, is it close to something that usually converts or not? And that's the sort of thing that I tended to miss really, because otherwise I was in the dark and I was like, should I spend $20 on an ad to test this? I don't know. Maybe I should tweak this headline some more. And then 3 more days of rewriting one word in the headline, and it was difficult. So having someone who knows what they're doing, kind of overlooking your stuff, it could be priceless for you. Priceless. Now, of course, you do have the hot seats. As a part of the List Building Lifestyle Club, you can submit your landing pages, email copy into a hot seat, and we do those occasionally when we get enough people submitting. But if you do want more of a, more opportunities to get exposed to copywriters who can help you out and review your stuff, maybe John will be open to it. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing it out there because he knows what he's doing. He truly does. And I can't say this about many of the so-called copywriting, coaches out there who sort of build themselves up as like, oh, look at me, I'm in millions of dollars, but in reality, like they get on like on a live challenge sort of thing experience, and then you see them embarrass themselves. So anyway, enough rambling. It's lunchtime. So, John, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you very much.
Are you located in Croatia?
Yeah, I am.
All right, I can tell. It's dark over there. Look at
Yeah,
that.
it was dark in the meantime.
Yes, and I can recognize one of those block buildings, right? So the post-Soviet era style. Childhood, man, nostalgic. Anyway, Lana, thank you so much hosting this out of that orange corner over there. And yeah,
Good speech.
good call. We're gonna send out the recording. I'm gonna get a recording to you, John, as well as I promised. We'll get the links from you as well to send you guys, as well as some PDFs of the emails John wrote. Other than that, we're good to go. We'll see you guys next week. And those of you who do have a mastermind call scheduled with me and Lana, we'll see you on the mastermind call. All right?
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye bye.